Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. In this one, we're covering the 4 areas of Utah County that you have to know about. If you're thinking about making a move here to Utah, you're going to want to know about these 4 areas to decide which one is right for you. Now, I've covered a lot of these cities and areas on their own individual videos. You can find them here on my channel. Just type in living in XYZ city and you'll be able to find them. But I'm going to break these down into 4 different areas that I think are going to be different enough that are worth considering if you're making a move here. So if you're looking to buy or sell real estate here along the Wasatch Front or anywhere across the state, my team and I service the entire state. We would love to help you. Reach out to me. My information's here on the screen. You can call, text, or email anytime. I love hearing from you guys and I cannot wait to help you meet your real estate dreams. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Okay, so I want to go ahead and jump into this and actually show you what we're talking about here for Utah County. So Utah County sits about 45 minutes south of downtown Salt Lake City. There's a lot of people, especially you people moving in from out of state, who are considering moving to this area, not only for the jobs, but also for the recreation and the lifestyle that you can get here. So first up, I do want to just show you kind of a overall map of what Utah County looks like so you can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about here. So Utah County actually comes down here to the south end of Santaquin, which would be kind of the most southern city here in Utah County. And then it covers all this area up here and all the way up here to the north end of Lehi. And it's separated by Bluffdale and Draper here in Salt Lake County. So it also comes out here west. We're going to talk about this area. But for the sake of this video, we're going to talk about what we have down here. So I just briefly mentioned Santaquin as a potential option. Now, out here in Santaquin, this is a relatively new area. Let me switch over here to the satellite map. And you can see that there's a lot of farmland here in this area. So you're coming down I-15 and there's just this, subdivision here. Or I shouldn't say subdivision, I should say city that has now grown and is becoming more and more popular. The reason why people love living in Santaquin is you can get a really, really nice house for a fairly affordable price, right? You can find new homes here for like 400, 500K that are, huge homes and are a really good fit. So if you don't mind a commute, maybe you're working from home, or maybe you just kind of want that smaller town feel, Santaquin might be an option for you. You can see here that they do have a couple of, necessities that you might need on a daily basis, but a lot of people are going to be traveling north to get to a lot of those entertainment options, to get to the different restaurants, things like that. So here in Santaquin, you do have some options. I mean, just kind of standard stuff, right? You got a pizza shop over here, Iceberg Drive-In. I saw Dairy Queen on there. There's a Macy's grocery store. So it is kind of like a small town feel there in Santaquin. I also want to cover here, if we come up here, you can see all this farmland out here. I want to cover Payson. So Payson right here is a little bit bigger. Payson was kind of the southern end of Utah County for me growing up, right? This was kind of like, oh, hey, if you lived in Payson, you kind of lived in this small town down in Utah County. However, it is growing like crazy right now. So this is kind of the first area. And I should probably zoom out a little bit and just talk about show you what we're talking about here. So I want to group Santaquin, Payson, and Spanish Fork all together here, as well as these areas over here, which are great as well. So you've got Salem, Elkridge, and Woodland Hills. So continuing on with Payson for our first section here, Payson is kind of that smaller town. It still kind of has that feel, but it's growing like crazy. You can see how much land is out here that is going to be developed. I mean, there's just acres and acres and acres of farmland, and it's going to continue to be developed, over the years. So a lot of land there in Payson. I think there's a good chance that a lot of this area will be developed over the next 5 to 10 years, even up here into Benjamin, Lakeshore, Palmyra. These areas are going to see a lot of growth as well. So something that's interesting there, there's still a lot of land to be built on there. So keep an eye out for this area. Now, if you want kind of that smaller town feel, you don't mind that commute, again, Payson's another great option. Santaquin's probably about another, 5 to 10 minutes beyond Payson. So that's, again, kind of pushing that just a little bit further. If we come over here and take a look at these 3 cities here, so you've got Woodland Hills, Elkridge, and Salem. These 3 cities are growing like crazy. Now, they are a little bit more expensive. If you want to live on the southern end of Utah County, this is a great option for you. I'd probably look at Elkridge or Woodland Hills. Again, a lot of new homes going in here, but you can find really nice 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 square foot homes here that are going to be selling for, anywhere from about I don't know, probably 700,000 to $1 million plus in today's market. The thing that people love about living in these areas is it's just really small. It's kind of got that community feel. And there's also some amazing views because this does sit up in the hillside. I think if we actually kind of go like this, you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. Yeah, so you can kind of see just based on, like Woodland Hills here especially, and Elk Ridge up here in the hillside, even a little bit of Salem. It does kind of sit up on the bench a little bit, so you do get some pretty cool views looking to the north for Utah County. So something that's worth noting there, if you want to live a little bit further out, maybe you want some acreage, a bigger house, that's your price range, you're looking in that 700 to $1 million range, this would be a great option, something I'd definitely consider. Now, the thing to know about this is that because of the way that travel works here in Utah is you're going to have a slightly harder time going north and south from these cities over here. You can see there's not really a main road or anything, right? I mean, you've got this road right here that comes through and kind of comes up north. But if you're living out here in Woodland Hills, I mean, you're going to have a good 15-20 minutes like just to get to the freeway or just to get up here into Spanish Fork if that's where you're going. So just be prepared that there's going to be a little bit more of a commute if you're living in one of these areas. All right, so let's go and continue on to Spanish Fork to kind of wrap up this first city or area that we're talking about. So I guess you'd say that Spanish Fork, can kind of also encompass Springville or Mapleton, which we're going to talk about further here in just a minute. But Spanish Fork is really kind of the epicenter of this first section that I wanted to talk about. Spanish Fork, again, very suburban type living, but this is where you're going to have all of your daily amenities super close by, right? You've got a couple of Walmarts, you've got a Costco, you've got all of your fast food, chain restaurants. You're even going to have some mom and pop restaurants in here as well. And Spanish Fork, just like the other cities we talked about, is also growing like crazy. You can just see these subdivisions that have popped up here over the last couple of years. And there's a lot of houses going in here, right? You also have State Route 6, which will take you up Spanish Fork Canyon. And this is kind of how you get to like Price, how you get to Moab, how you get to Lake Powell. So this road right here does see a lot of traffic. You will get a lot of traffic here on this main road. But if you're living out here on the south end of Spanish Fork, it's going to be, basically suburban type living. And again, there's still a lot of land out here that's left to be developed. So that kind of wraps up our first section here. Now I do want to zoom out and show you guys a little bit about our next area, which we're going to kind of encompass here as the Provo Orem area. And we're also going to throw in a little bit of Springville and Mapleton. We'll just kind of keep working our way up the map here. So we'll touch on these briefly. Springville and Mapleton are going to be very similar to Spanish Fork. Mapleton's probably a little bit more expensive. You do get bigger lots down there, and you will get bigger houses. And you do also have just kind of a slower pace of life, I guess, if you will. There's a lot of farmland here that people are still farming or just kind of sitting on, right? You can see all these huge lots. I mean, look at this like giant house right here. They've got a huge shop and everything. So there's a lot of this here in Mapleton where you'll just see lots of empty space and empty land. So that kind of covers what you're going to see there in Mapleton. Now, if we come over here to Springville, again, very similar to Spanish Fork. So I'm actually going to jump up here and talk about Provo and Orem. And the reason why we group these two together is because they basically just merge together, right? If you're driving or if you're familiar with these areas, you can be in one city and feel like you're in the other, and you can be driving, on one of these roads, and all of a sudden you're in the other area and you won't even know it. So that's kind of the main highlight here. Now, Provo and Orem are kind of the main cities of Utah County, but I do think that's going to change over the next couple of years. I think there's going to be a lot of growth happening up further north in the Lehi area. I think that's going to kind of become one of the main hubs for Utah County. But as of right now, the reason why Provo and Orem are so popular is not only because they've been established for the longest time, but they also have two universities here. You've got Brigham Young University, BYU, and then up here you also have Utah Valley University over here. So you've got two major universities within basically a mile of each other. They're super close, which is interesting. I don't know why they ended up doing that, but lo and behold, they did. So you've got two universities here. There's a huge young population in this area. There's a lot of young people that live here, a lot of young families, a lot of young singles. So if that's the market that you're kind of looking for, this could be a very good option for you. The other thing to note about this area is you can see that it's fairly skinny here, right? You've got Utah Lake here on the west side that flanks the west side, and then you've got the Wasatch Mountains over here to the east. So this particular area to go from let's say the lake, this is Vineyard over here, to get to the eastern side of the mountains, right? You're only going to be maybe 10, 15 minutes, depending on what road you're driving on and depending on traffic. So it's fairly easy to get from one side to the other. I guess I'd maybe say 15 to 20 minutes to commute from one side to the other. But Not that you're going to be doing that on a regular basis, at least most people won't be. You'll probably be going north or south, but it is fairly easy to go east to west here in this area, in my opinion. Okay, now as we move on to these other two sections that we're going to talk about here today, make sure to share this video with a friend or a family member, maybe even a spouse who might be interested in this type of content as well. It would help me grow the channel, and it would also help you get the information that you need. I found that a lot of people like to do that. They like to share this with mom, dad, their wife, their husband, whoever it might be, just to kind of share this information and say, hey, look, I found this video really helpful. You should check it out. So make sure to go ahead and do that. And also don't forget to reach out to me if you're thinking about buying or selling real estate here in Utah. I'd love to help you. So let's go up here and take a look at the next area. So these are going to be two of the more popular areas. If you've stuck around in the video this far, I think you're going to really like what we have to talk about here. So if we take a look at this northern section of Utah County, I'm going to group pretty much all of this together. So you come out of Orem here, you're coming up north, you've got Linden, Pleasant Grove, American Fork, Lehi, Highland, Alpine, and Cedar Hills. So this entire area I'm going to kind of group together, and we're going to talk about a lot of these different areas and what you'll find in each of them. So Linden, Pleasant Grove, American Fork, these are all going to be fairly similar. They're going to feel very similar. They're going to have kind of the same vibe going for them, and they are going to be a little bit older parts of towns. You know, a lot of the homes here were built in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Of course, you can find new homes. There are still single family homes and townhomes being built in this area, but most of the homes for the most part are going to be, you know, older homes built from the 60s through the 90s, I'd say. So something to kind of note there. There's a lot of growth that's still happening in these areas, but it is mostly built out, as you can see. So if you kind of look in here, not a ton of farmland like we saw with some of those other areas. So let me back out here. Let's go up north and talk a little bit about Highland, Cedar Hills, and Alpine. So between Highland, Alpine, and Cedar Hills, these are probably three of the most expensive cities in Utah County. To buy a really nice house here in Highland, Alpine, Cedar Hills, I mean, you can find stuff for probably like, I'd say between 600 to 900,000, but it's probably going to be an old house and it's probably going to need some work. Most of the homes here are going to be selling for $1 million plus. That's what makes it such an exclusive area. It's definitely an area that I think you should consider if you do have that higher budget and you're looking for a home. I would highly consider Highland. I would highly consider Alpine. I think both of those are great options. They're going to get bigger houses. They're going to be new, and you're also going to get big lots in these areas. So if you do want a little bit of space, you want a little bit of privacy, definitely check out these areas. The other thing that people really love about Highland and Alpine is that you also get a very neighborhood-centric feel to these areas. There's not a lot of commercial development in these areas. There's not a lot of high-rises. I mean, you'll have your like corner shops. You'll have some different, you know, small retail shopping areas where you might have like a grocery store or a phone store or a bank or something, but there's not a ton of, you know, big commercial developments in these areas. So if you kind of like that smaller town feel, I don't even want to say smaller town feel, I just want to say that more residential feel, this is something that a lot of people love about this area. So especially up here in Alpine, as you go up here into the hillside, I mean, you get these big lots. It's very private, very residential. And that's pretty much all that's there. You've got a couple parks around. Definitely a nice place to consider. The downside is that, or maybe I shouldn't even say downside, but the alternative is that you are going to see higher prices in this area. So something worth considering there. Okay, so let's go ahead and move over here and take a look at Lehi. So Lehi is going to be kind of the center of the tech corridor. I've done numerous videos on what it's like to live in Lehi. Like I said earlier, if you want to check out those videos, just go to my YouTube channel, type in living in Lehi, Utah, and you'll see my face pop up and you can watch a video all about what it's like to actually live there, where I'm out in the field showing you what it's like. So for the purpose of this video here, we're going to talk about what Lehi is and why it's so popular. So you've got Lehi down here, you've got Pioneer Crossing, and this is a huge commercial development. And then all along the freeway here, you can't really see it, but all along the freeway here, you have a ton of office buildings, especially up here. You can see just all the office buildings that are right in this area. So a lot of office buildings and a lot of people who work in this area. Now, this is kind of the heart of the tech corridor. So that's the reason why this area is growing so crazy, is you have a lot of people coming in who are making good incomes and they're able to afford these nicer things, right? And so this is why the area has grown so much. There's still a lot of growth left to be had here on the southwest side of Lehi. You can see that there's still quite a few fields, farmland, things like that, that's still left to be developed if you look right here. But there's a lot of nice houses that have already gone in. I mean, if I just jump in here to Street View, you can see that some of these houses here, this is a little bit older neighborhood. But if you come over here, you can see that this one is new. and developing very quickly. So, and this is from July of last year, so this may even look different here today. But Lehi is probably going to be, in my opinion, over the next 5 to 10 years, it's probably going to become kind of the main hub of Utah County. I think this is where most of the growth is going to happen. I think this is where you have the highest likelihood of a second downtown city starting to form. Because here in Utah, in northern Utah, we really only have Salt Lake City where you're going to find like skyscrapers, right? You will have other cities and they'll each have their own little downtown area, but they're not going to be big cities like you might be used to if you're coming from another big city. Here in Utah, I think that Lehi could have the potential to be that next city where you'll start to see skyscrapers, you'll start to see these taller buildings going in, and also a lot of more higher density growth as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this over here. So the last area that I want to talk about, let me switch over to this map because I think it'll be a little bit easier to kind of show you. So the last area that I want to talk about, the fourth area on our list here today, is going to be the Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain area. Now these are going to be the two main cities here on the west side, and this is the area that most of the growth is expected to happen for Utah County. In fact, they're expecting Utah County's population to double over the next 30 years, and most of that growth is going to happen in these areas. So I've had a lot of people move into Saratoga Springs. In fact, I just sold like 4 houses pretty close to each other in Saratoga Springs. So definitely a popular area, and I've talked at length about why it's such a popular area in that specific video. So I want to kind of cover the highlights here of why this is so popular and why it should also be a potential option for you if you're thinking about making a move here. So again, kind of the same story, a lot of farmland here. There's still a lot of land left to be developed. You do kind of come up into the mountains here that you can see, but there's going to be a lot of growth here on the hillside. If we come down here further south, you have a couple different neighborhoods like Fox Hollow right here. You've got Stillwater up here. You've got Talon's Cove in this area. There's a ton of new homes going in over in this area. You can get new homes for, the last new home I sold was about $700,000. So you can buy a brand new, 3,600 square foot home for about $700,000 in this area. Of course, there's going to be homes that are $1 million plus, and you can also find some, older homes that are going to be in a more mature neighborhood for probably like $550,000 to $650,000 for single family homes. Now there are townhomes and stuff as well, but we're just strictly talking about single family homes for that. So you can see here that even from the satellite image, there are a lot of roads here and there's a lot of houses missing from these roads, right? So here in Fox Hollow, you can see that there's just a ton of lots. Like this is a great example. You can see all of the development that's happened here and how much is left to come. So it's not even showing up here on the map, which is kind of crazy. As we move a little bit further north, you're going to see that the development will continue to expand here in this area. The one thing to note about this is that as of right now, Redwood Road, this road right here, is going to be your main access road going north and south here in Saratoga Springs. So you will get some traffic on this road. It can get backed up, especially if there's weather or a crash or something like that. But Redwood Road here is definitely a busy road and there's a lot of traffic going on in that area. So something worth noting there. But as we come up here further north, this is going to be kind of your like downtown area right here along Redwood Road. You have Pioneer Crossing right here. And then you've got the Costco, you've got the Smith's, which is a grocery store. You've got a Walmart up here. Basically, this whole entire area is going to be commercial. This is where you're going to find all of your daily amenities, where you're going to find your restaurants and other things like that. In addition to that, if we come over here to the west side, you're also going to find Eagle Mountain. So there's actually 2 parts of Eagle Mountain that I think you need to know about. So you have the ranches right here, and then you're also going to have this area out here. This is where it actually says Eagle Mountain on the map, but this is going to be considered city center out in this area. So city center is definitely a little bit further out. You're probably an extra 10 to 15 minutes away from most of your daily amenities, but this area is really growing like crazy, right? You've got all these new homes over here that are going in, and you can see that there's a ton of development down here. So this area is growing like crazy, but there still is kind of a lack of daily amenities out here in city center. So something worth noting, you can get a cheaper house, but you are going to pay for it from being, for being a little bit further away from your main necessities on a daily basis. I would actually prefer or recommend that most people look at the ranches. I think the ranches is probably a slightly better option for most people. You do have options in here. If we look at this, you can find homes with big lots, just like in here. You can find homes with a half acre or a quarter acre, a full acre. If that's what you want, you can come up here to the north side where again, it's a little bit more spread out. You've got some options there. And you also have the ranches. If we come down this way, you're going to have a ton of options over here. This is a really popular area in Silver Lake lake. So lots of options there in Eagle Mountain. I know that there's a lot of people who live in Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain, and then they work over here in Lehi. For this commute, you're probably like 15 to 20 minutes, depending on where you're coming from, where you're going to. But this is a great option if you want a little bit more bang for your buck. I would definitely look at Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain compared to Lehi. If you value kind of being a little bit more central, then Lehi is probably the better option for you. But again, let me just show you this, because this is kind of crazy. This is why people love Saratoga Springs and why I've had so many people move here. If we just come down here, kind of drop ourselves by the lake, let's see if we can get some views here. So if we come down this way, I mean, look at this view, right? Like this could be the view off the back of your house. I know it's a little hard from the this low quality picture here, but you have lake views. You can see the city. This is Lehi up here on the north side, and then you've got like Highland Alpine over here, American Fork, Pleasant Grove, Linden as we come down, and then you get the amazing mountain views. Now again, this doesn't really do it justice, but you do get these crazy views from Saratoga Springs, and that's why people love living there, is for that exact reason. So overall, great place to live. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is kind of the video of 4 different areas to consider if you're looking at Utah County. I wanted to break them down into these 4 different sections because you're going to get a little bit of a different lifestyle depending on where you're at. So with all that being said, guys, if you're thinking about buying or selling real estate, make sure to reach out to me. My information's here on the screen. Call, text, or email anytime. I love hearing from you guys. And also don't forget to give me a thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. And check out those links in the description box down below. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.